Howdy! Michael, a Mercedes guy here. This is a 108 car, and often the heater fan doesn't work. And usually that happens from non-use. In other words, you don't use the heater fan all spring and summer, and then go to use it in the fall, and it won't work. By not work, I mean the fan does not turn. Now, to pull a heater box out of one of these suckers, what they do at the factory, they start with the heater fan and they build the whole car around it. So you got to completely disassemble the dash just to get to that heater box, to get it out of there. So I'm going to show you how to do it for less than an hour instead of the day and a half doing the heater box R&R. So what you do is you remove this piece of sheet metal. You start by removing the windshield wipers and then the screws on this grill. Now once you get the nut off, the way you remove a wiper arm, you bend it up like this. Then forward and back motion, and it comes off. You don't snap it back. When you go to install, you do the same method, then you let it snap back and line it up. On a 108, the driver's arm is always above the passenger arm. Then you put the nut on. But anyway, we're in the removal process right now, so. Okay, once you have the arms off, then you pop off these covers and then use a deep socket and take off the nut and the washer. Okay, now as you notice, I'm showing this particular job on a parts car. So the next step is to pull this rubber off, and this is important to have a good seal. If your seal is missing, you need to buy one. This keeps engine fumes from getting into your car. So now that we have that off, we can expose these screws that hold the grill on. Okay, we've got the grill off. Then there are 5 screws back inside here that you need to remove. You can spot them in there. They're Phillips screws. Plus we want to remove the tubing for the windshield washer. So we'll get these screws back in here. Okay, now sometimes these screws are really tight, and you don't want to round out the inside of the head of the Phillips screw. So what you do is you put a lot of force in the direction of the screw and turn at the same time. So you, there we go, I broke it loose. Okay, then there are 2 screws on each end of this cowl that you need to remove as well. Okay, now we can remove the cowl. Now with the cowl off, this is a good time to clean that and get those drain holes clear. When the drains get plugged up, the water can pool in here and then it drips down on your feet. So if you wonder where that dripping is from, clean your drain holes. Okay, now that we got the cowl off, there's a filter, and of course this filter is long gone, but there's a filter. Now, you can order those filters new from the Classic Center. Now, you can reach in here, and there is the heater fan. I've got my hand on it, on the actual squirrel cage. And actually it was bound up, but now I have it actually moving. Now this is very important. Before you do this job, you always disconnect the battery. Unless you don't care about losing a few fingers. But anyway, you get that squirrel cage turning. And I've got it moving. Back and forth, back and forth. Okay, now you can hook the battery up and turn on the fan and see if it runs. If it doesn't run, put on a really thick pair of gloves and reach in and just touch the edge of the squirrel cage and push on it at the same time the switch is on. And about 80% of the time, it'll start running, and you've saved yourself a ton of money if you're having a shop do it, or a couple days of your time if you're going to do it. And once you get it running, you want to leave it running for at least 20 minutes so that the bushings warm up and the lubrication, it gets kind of warmed up in there. And you may prefer to use the car for a couple days without the cowl on, just in case the fan freezes up again. You can reach in a second time and get it spinning again, but usually you don't need to. Usually once you free it, it works. Now the important thing here is, every month, whether it's winter or summer, you turn on your heater fan. And, with the heater fan off, of course, you turn on your air conditioning, even in the wintertime. That way, you won't have these problems of things freezing up.